Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years we've been asking the frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show. Today, Franchise Interviews celebrates 6 years and 300 shows, and we couldn't think of anyone better to celebrate our 6-year anniversary with than Melanie Bergeron, the chair of Two Men in a Truck. And it all started as an after-school business with 2 high school boys, and now 20 years later, Two Men in a Truck International has grown both domestically and internationally. This is an amazing story as well as franchise, and find out why by listening to today's show. We're also going to hear clips from our interview with Lonnie Helgerson, and Lonnie is the author of the great franchise book, 5 Pennies, and we're going to hear a clip with our interview with the Undercover Boss, Catherine Monson. And Catherine Monson is the CEO of FASTSIGNS, and that's all coming up on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years now we've been asking the frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Franchise Interviews is celebrating a 6-year anniversary and 300th show, and we couldn't think of anyone better to celebrate our 6-year anniversary with than Melanie Bergeron, the chair of Two Men in a Truck. And it all started as an after-school business for 2 high school boys, and then 20 years later, Two Men in a Truck International has grown both domestically and internationally. This is an amazing story as well as franchise. And why don't we go right into our interview with Melanie Bergeron, calling you CEO, or where are you actually located today? Enjoy.
I'm in my office in Lansing, Michigan.
Oh, nice. And that's where your headquarters is, right?
Yes, and this is where the company started.
Okay, that's fantastic. And you have an interesting story. It's one of the reasons why, we started the show, Melanie, is we've always found that there's like interesting stories behind franchisees and franchise stores. What were you doing before joining Two Men and a Truck?
I was a pharmaceutical sales rep in Atlanta, Georgia.
Which is
so
interesting.
Quite
you know, yeah, it is quite different, and it's funny too, Melanie, because over time we've noticed a lot of people in the pharmaceutical industry turning to franchising. You know, you say, well, what's the relationship between the two? You know, and you were one of the, if my story is correct, I guess one of the first franchisees, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yep.
What was it about Two Men and a Truck at the time, you know, that you saw this potential, Melanie? Because we've spoken about, like, you know, like the great stories like Dave Thomas, you know, when he recognized the opportunity with, like, KFC. I think he was like the second franchisee to KFC. What was it about Two Men and a Truck that you realized it was this great opportunity?
I'll give you a brief history about how I got involved and then how I got to the corporate headquarters. But I will say, okay, good. I think pharmaceutical sales reps, if they're attracted to franchising, I think it's because they're very process-driven, they're very training-driven, they're very brand-driven. I think they have really good time management skills. But for all those reasons, I could see why they would like franchising, and just to be in business on their own and putting their energy towards something that is theirs. So anyway, my history with Two Men and a Truck, my mom actually founded the business with my brothers, Brig and John Sorber, and they were 15 and 17 years old at the time. And she had this old 67 Ford pickup truck in our driveway. And this is the early 80s, and there was a recession going on then as well. And my mom said, why don't you take that pickup and haul trash for people and just make some spending money? And my mom was a single working mom at the time and just looking for a way to make some extra income. So the boys started doing that, and sure enough, you know, people wanted them to haul trash for them. And my mom then said, every time you come home from one of your jobs, I want you to put a little money in this dish on the counter, and we have enough money, we'll place an ad in the paper. And so soon they did have enough money, and she put an ad in our local paper in Lansing, Michigan called the Wheeler Dealer, and the ad said, Two Men and a Truck will move you. And she was just calling it what it was, because back in the early 80s, there was no brand advertising where you could go in the grocery store and buy things less expensively, because they were just in white boxes with black writing that said graham crackers, cereal, ice cream. And that's where she got the idea, Two Men and a Truck. So anyway, she knew that she couldn't move those households in the old 67 Ford pickup truck, so she went out and bought an old used bread delivery truck for $350, and that's the only personal money that she ever put into the business. But the truck had a lot of issues. The gas gauge didn't work. You know, it didn't have a ramp on the back for heavy items. And with time, my brothers made a good decision, and they decided to go on to college. So my mom hired two movers and really started a real moving business. And at the time, I lived in Atlanta. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep. You know, I did the great job, the company car, the benefits, lived at my own. I felt like I had made it. Well, she kept calling me, encouraging me to start a Two Men and a Truck moving business. I'm like, Mom, does it make any money? She's like, I'm not sure, but people seem to really need this service. So I thought, you know what, I'll just do it as a hobby, you know, on the side. So I went and bought an old used truck, and I had painted on the side Two Men in a Truck. And but I had issues too. A year after I was in business, I realized I never had a license plate on the truck after a year.
Oh my God.
So, and I didn't get in trouble, but I did get a plate, and we just knew so little less, you know, back then. And then if you want me to, I can continue or.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like segues into the history and the character of the organization as you're telling the story. You know, and these are always such wonderful stories, aren't they, Melanie? Like when you go back and you reflect on how the company started. I had no idea that that's how the name actually came about, because I was going to ask you, you know, how did you guys come up with the name? And it makes sense, doesn't it, now, as you're telling the story, you know? So it's just fascinating. Yeah, and maybe you could dive like deeper into, you know, the history of the company, you know, and how Two Men and a Truck became so successful.
Sure. I will just ramble on, so just cut me off whenever you want. I
no,
love
this is great stuff.
This. I love it. So anyway, the logo, if your listeners know what that looks like, it's a sketch truck with a logo. My mom sketched that for my brothers on a napkin, and quite often people comment, how clever that you had a child draw your logo. And they're like, oh, that was my mom. But if you look at the logo, looks like one of the stick men has more hair than the other. So my brothers tease which one is them. And it works well internationally because no one's driving the truck. Both stick men have their arms in the air, and there's no steering wheel. But it's worked really well for us. Okay, so I was in Atlanta. My mom's in Lansing, and she starts thinking, gosh, I wonder if I should franchise this thing because it's taking off really well in both places.
Right.
And she was asked to sit on a panel discussion with a friend of hers at Lansing Community College, and this woman had a franchise business called The Pet Nanny. And the woman said to my mom, you know, Mary Ellen, you need to franchise your business. And my mom said, well, I don't think you can franchise moving people. Right. And this lady said, oh, for heaven's sakes, Mary Ellen, all I do is babysit cats and dogs, and I franchise my business. You can too. So my mom started using her resources, you know, back then it was called the UFOC, now it's called the FDD, putting all that together and protecting our name. And anyway, she continued to work hard. And after a few years, I started getting homesick. So I wanted to move back to Michigan. So I sold my sold my Two Men and a Truck business, and I quit my pharmaceutical sales job. I moved to the Detroit area. I got a new pharmaceutical sales job, and I started another Two Men and a Truck. And after a few years, my mom called me, and she said, this is 1994 to be exact. She said, Melanie, I think I'm going to get into politics. And I was just wondering if you would take over the franchise company, Two Men and a Truck. And at that point, she had 36 franchise locations. Gross sales were $6 million. Wow. She was doing, she was doing pretty good, and she was doing this all by herself.
Yeah.
And she said, there's one catch. I want you to take over, but I can't pay you anything because while the franchise businesses are making money, corporate headquarters is not making any money.
Right.
I thought, yuck. But I thought, I want to do this because each of my brothers had a franchise by that time. My mom had one. I had one. It was truly a family business. And I wanted to put all of my pharmaceutical sales skills and high energy into growing the family business. So I quit my pharmaceutical sales job, and I started commuting to Lansing from Detroit every day. And at the time, the office was an old house in the attic of a house. There was no office space, so I actually sat at a copy machine, for my first year as president of Two Men and a Truck. And then I'll tell you where the blessings just kept appearing at our door. I mean, amazing, amazing things continue to happen. I'm just so thankful to God for all of these things.
Yeah.
But as I sat there, I thought, why don't we have any money? We're not making any money. And another problem I realized, I understood moving, but I didn't understand the franchise business model. And any of your listeners out there know that franchising is a different business model than whatever service or product they're providing. It's two things. But I didn't get that, and this was before the Internet was used like it is today.
Right.
I wasn't aware of the IFA, the International Franchising Association. There weren't any books. There wasn't Amazon.com. I just didn't know how to research it.
Right.
Well, back then, our Governor Engler, he was looking at businesses in Michigan that he could help. He wanted to create more jobs in Michigan because we're trying to get through that recession. So he chose Two Men and a Truck, and he offered us 1 year of free consulting services from Deloitte and Touche. And honestly, back then, I didn't even know what Deloitte and Touche was. But he matched us up with our consultant, and he was actually a partner out of Detroit with Deloitte and Touche, very high up. And I worked with him for every Tuesday for a year. His name was John Fovanesi. And he taught me everything there was to know about franchising. And he said, Melanie, the reason you don't have money is you're not charging enough.
Right.
So don't feel bad, because women quite often don't charge enough for their products or services.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove to each of those 36 franchises. We couldn't afford to fly back then or anything. And I explained to them that our royalty was going to have to go up from 4% to 6%. And explained what they could expect in return, with services. And they were all very much on board with it. And things, I'm telling you, Marty, things just blossomed from there. We had more money. We could start hiring people. And today, we are very blessed. This year we'll gross over $260 million. We have over 200 franchises in the U.S. We're in the U.K., Canada, Ireland. Our average franchisee gross is $1.3 million. These are numbers I can give you because they are in our item 19 in our FDD.
Right.
And the last couple numbers I'll give you, our top 25% of our franchisees gross $1.5 million and net 24%. But the thing, we're still privately held by my mom, Mary Ellen Sheets, my two brothers, Brig and John Sorber, myself. The thing we're most proud of is we really give back to the community. Collectively, we've given over $16 million back to charities. Our charity of choice is the American Cancer Society, and I love this because our franchisees vote on our charity of choice, and the American Cancer Society continues to win by a landslide every time. We give 10 cents from every move to that great charity, and there's several others that we're involved with. But when you're in business a long time like we've been, I think a lot of it's leaving that legacy, helping others and giving back that gives you the drive to just keep wanting to be great. So that's our story.
What a great story! I got to tell you, and as I said, I've been doing the show 6 years, and Lonnie Helgerson said, you have to have Melanie on your show because she has a story, and he's right. This has become one of my favorite stories in franchising. It's such an amazing story, and it seems like too, Melanie. I guess you being very grateful too. And the company now giving back, to society, and all these other charities out there, I think is fantastic, and it's important. What an amazing story. That's really incredible.
It's really important to give back. And one new program we've started, we've had it for about 2 years. It's called Movers for Moms, and it's where we advertise to all the communities where we serve that we're collecting goods at charter schools, and there are different places to drop goods off for women in disadvantaged women in homes that have been abused, so they could leave slippers, lotion, things like that. And then our movers go to each of these collection areas, collect all the items, and then take them to homeless shelters on Mother's Day. And that's called Movers for Moms. But the beautiful thing that has come out of that, the movers love to do this. And a lot of them do it with their volunteer time, picking up the items for these moms. And taking care of these moms in the homeless shelters gives them self-confidence that the community still cares about them, and just kind of gives them hope, that there's a brighter future ahead. So that's a new thing we're just starting and very, very excited about.
That's fantastic. When you guys are at a franchise show, Melanie, 2 Men and a Truck Rider franchise show, and someone were to come up to your booth and they say, the typical question is always like, so, what do you do? What's the typical response?
In the olden days, it may have been, we're a moving company, but we're not a moving company. We're so much
I thought
more.
It was a little deeper than
and
that.
not to sound egotistical, but for me to go from pharmaceutical sales to a moving company, the reason I fell in love with moving and what I share in trade show booths that I work often is that you're providing exceptional customer service at a time when people are in great need. So we're a customer service company that happens to have moving as its venue. But what I've learned over the years is that people that are moving, it's usually a traumatic or sad time in their life, it's usually due to a divorce, which is horrible. It's due to a death in the family, downsizing, and people are very, very emotional about leaving their home, and they have all their possessions. Even if it's a happy thing, like a marriage or people are coming together, moving is stressful. So we take our training very, very seriously at 2 Men and a Truck, and our hiring. We hire for attitude, and then we train the skill. But we want our movers to show up on time, clean trucks, in uniform, be upbeat, understand that the customer is going to be stressed out, and make everything as stress-free as possible. And that, Marty, I think the reason for our success is because we are customer-centric. Our eyes are on the customer. We're not doing what's best for Mary Ellen, the founder, any family member or franchisee. Everyone in our company knows that we want to do the best thing for the customer. And if it's something that can be rolled out, an idea that can be rolled out nationwide, we cut out all the bureaucracy too. Let's get that idea out there, anything we can do to better serve. And if there's a damage or anything, we pride ourselves in rushing in and taking care of that right away, and impressing the customer with that we care. We don't want to leave you, troubled. Every business has its issues, and anyway, we try to take care of ours and just exceed our customers' expectations all the time. And because of that, customers tell people, I had a good experience with 2 Men and a Truck, and that's where all of our business, the majority of it, comes from. It's word of mouth. So we have to take customer service very seriously.
Well, that's well said. You said the workers and the franchisees, Melanie, they hire for attitude and skill. What do you look for in your franchisees then? What type of characteristics or skills are you looking for? We do like people with some business experience. We do have core values that they really need to believe in because we live them here. They're not just on a poster on the wall, but they have to have that caring attitude because we're in the service industry. Give back to the community is just a huge thing that we live out throughout the year. Integrity goes without saying, so we do criminal and financial background checks because we just want the best people in our system. And we have something called the grandma rule. It's one of our core values, and that is to treat everyone as if it were your grandma with dignity, respect, and patience. And our movers really get that one. And be your best and have fun, and inclusion. We include all people from all backgrounds of life. Okay, those are our core values. So we're looking for franchisees that believe in those. And we're also, skill set-wise, we're looking for someone that has skill in one of the following areas, either operational management or some financial experience or some marketing experience. Whoever we speak with, believe me, we have people, we have doctors, we have appliance repairmen, we have nurses, we have teachers, we have everyone you can imagine in our system. But we also think it's very key that they realize their weaknesses and hire against those. Me, for example, am horrible with numbers. Horrible. So, I would need to hire an accountant to explain it to me. But it's just understanding where you're weak. And but the other thing we're looking for in a really good franchisee is someone that knows how to follow a process. Because that's what franchising is. It's full of processes. There is no favoritism. Everything's about numbers. And, we want to treat everyone as fairly as we can, but we're pretty strict about letting people in because if they don't get the process part, they'll just be miserable. And we look at it as a marriage. So our agreements are 5 years long, and we want to make sure we marry people that are excited about our system and understand our culture and know how we work. So they'll be so much happier. So. Wow. That's well said. Well, once you decide that it's a match, Melanie, and they like you, you like them, and they decide to go forward with a 2 Men and a Truck franchise, what's the training like from there? How does that work? Do they come to headquarters or?
Yes. Once they sign the agreement, then they come in for a 2-week training session, and it's really neat. It's here in Lansing, Michigan, and if your listeners go online, they can see pictures of our Stickman University. We have a beautiful training facility with computers where we teach our Movers Who Care scheduling program. We also have a 2-story house in our building, and it's 1,100 square feet. It's fully furnished, has a washer and dryer, dishes, completely furnished. And we also have a 26-foot truck box in the building with a plexiglass side. And it's pretty neat. The final day of training, it's a simulated move. So we make it tough on the franchisee because we want them to be prepared when they go out in the real world. But they will have the problem customer call them, maybe movers not showing up. So, and then they've got to, we actually send movers over, and they've got to go through how to load the truck. And because we're teaching them things that they'll teach their movers. The good thing is we know that these are business people coming in, learning how our business system works for 2 weeks, but we have so much training for the movers and the move managers. We have webinars, we have annual conventions, we have a certification program, we have online training, we have manuals, we have franchise business consultants that go out that are specifically trained to help the first-year franchisee. Because at 2 Men and a Truck, we know as a system, our success is based on every single franchisee's success. So we're looking at their profitability. We just get out there, and the quicker they learn and are up to speed, it's better for everyone. So, we have a laser-like focus on training and helping that franchisee and being responsive to them.
Wow,
and the other
amazing
thing I'll add that is unique compared to other franchisors, and believe me, I mentor several emerging franchisors, and I share this advice with everyone. We share all our numbers. So, and we've done it since day one because my mom didn't know people didn't do that. So she just showed everyone's numbers. And now we've got it in real time. So people can get online, look at each other's sales numbers, daily sales numbers, all their expenses, because we're all on the same chart of accounts. How are they getting labor so low? Where are they getting their fuel for their trucks? Wow. And they can look at their neighbors, I think I'm doing all the business I can. Then they look at Sally next door. Her numbers are skyrocketing. It takes away that glass feeling of, this is the best I can do. It's like, well, she can do that. I can do that. So it's transparency, which builds trust. And all of our awards are based that way, too, on a numbers criteria where people can go in and see, in other words, rather than giving our awards just based on sales numbers, we have a balanced scorecard approach. So we measure, are people out speaking to elected officials? How much community service are they doing? How much training are they getting? All of these things are scored. And then at the end of the year, our top achievers go on a wonderful trip. We all go as a group. And like last year we went to Switzerland. This year we went to Napa Valley. So we have a meeting on the trip, and they're called the Leaders in Excellence. So we base a lot on recognition here at 2 Men in a Truck, too. And just try to keep it fun, upbeat and fun.
It sounds like it. And it sounds like a real type of family type of franchise system, too. And again, I've done a lot of these interviews over time, but the way you're describing it, it must be an amazing feeling for you, Melanie, and your mom and your family, to just see, where the company, because you were there at the beginning, and where it is now today, and what you've done, for people's lives, is creating all these different franchisees. What does that feel like for you?
It just feels so amazing and wonderful, and we look back and pinch ourselves. There's been a lot of evolution, and I think the blessing in all this as a family is we've had to evolve with the changes, and we had legacy management for many, many years, and then we had to transition to executive management, which was difficult to change all those people to get us to the next level. So we've had different bumps that we've had to, and challenges that we've had to overcome, but to stay alive and relevant and to be the best for our customers, you have to change, especially with all that's gone on with computers and everything. I'd say right now our biggest challenge is helping people to understand that the moving business is very, very lucrative. If you work hard, I mean, it's not easy, but there's just so much opportunity. And going into January, our focus is going to be in the D.C. area and the East Coast markets. And just for any listeners out there that are curious, just to look into it. The nice thing about two-man truck is it's scalable. So when people are ready to go or grow, they add a truck, add a truck, add a truck. And then if, depending on what the economy is doing, then you could take a truck out if you had to. Whereas with other franchise systems, you usually have to add a store, add a location.
That's true.
So it's just another beautiful thing. I'm using every second of your time I can to encourage people to think about this business as an opportunity.
It's an amazing opportunity. And, I guess I could officially call you an expert. I know that I believe you are a certified franchise expert. And one of the questions we've been asking on the show, Melanie, for the last 6 years is, what advice would you give to our listeners? We call them aspiring frantrepreneurs. So many of them know they want to get into a franchise opportunity, but it seems a little more difficult today because there's just so much out there. And I think a lot of our listeners, they just simply don't know where to begin. I think they get a little overwhelmed. What would you say to them as an expert in franchising?
I would look at the concept and think about who the audience is that you'll be working with.
Right.
Because no matter what product or service it is, it's not really the product or service, it's who you're delivering to. And, is this an audience that you could be comfortable with? I guess that would be the first thing I would look at. Second, are there unit economics? Third, is this a fad? Is it going to be around 10 years from now? Fourth, how expensive is it to get involved? Are you going to be able to get a loan for it? 5, is it going to be difficult to learn this product or service, or will it be pretty easy to learn and teachable to others? Also look for state regulations. Is there a location available in your city or state? Are there special regulations toward that product or service? Because a lot of products and services are regulated, and I'll tell you moving is. But the biggest thing your listeners can do is call as many, once they receive the permission, call as many of the franchisees in that system that they can. And a couple red flags, if you get the FDD from a company and there is not an item number 19, and that shows average numbers that franchisees make, that's a red flag, and find out why they don't have that in their FDD. Secondly, when the prospect does receive permission to call franchisees and they give you a very short list, that's a red flag. And it'd be nice to my truck. We give all of our franchisees, even people that have left the system, because we want that prospect to call as many people as possible. And if they say, I would never do this, I made a big mistake, then the prospect should ask, well, you sound disappointed, would you do it all over again? And if they say never, then it might be good for the prospect to say, then would you be willing to sell your location? The truth will bubble up in that answer. And then keep in mind, if we, it's not often this happens, but if we had a prospect called Two Men in a Truck, and they said, we talked to this franchisee and they don't like the way you do things, then we would probably say, you know what, you won't be happy in our system then, because that is how we do things. So I think for a prospect, they're going to get a bulk of their education by checking references. Very, 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 very important.
Wow, that's a great question. I never heard that before, in all the years I've been studying franchising is, if someone said, they never would have got into it again, then you say, well, would you sell me yours? And they said no. That would be like, well, okay, I never thought of that. I mean, that's very clever. I had a feeling your response would be, nothing less than spectacular. It's fantastic. So I know that you're looking to grow, towards like the East Coast. But I guess if you're looking, like 3 to 5 years down the road, is there anything else? Like, what are the other future plans for Two Men and a Truck, Melanie?
We're focused on the East, but I must say we're focused on the West. And my niece, Alicia Sorbert, she is the third generation. She's only 26. She started a franchise in San Diego, and her grand opening was last week. We're just definitely spreading to the East Coast, the West Coast. We have a wonderful new IT system, just like a $10 million renovation to our IT that's rolling out right now. And we're just looking at ways to better serve our customers with backhauls and different ways of making our franchisees more profitable. But our focus right now is still on the U.S. It's residential and commercial moving, long distance as well. And then, of course, we'll be looking to go more global. I mean, we're global now, but we still have a lot of work to do in the U.S. And then we'll just expand from there. We are the 5th largest moving company in the U.S., and we just want to be number 1 at customer service in moving, not only in service, moving services, but just we want to be very, very well thought of and a household name to our customers. And getting back to the community will always stay up there at the very top of the list.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Melanie. You've been a wonderful interview, and I've mentioned several times, we've been doing the show now 6 years, and this has certainly been one of my favorite interviews to do. So I'm so glad that I finally had a chance to speak with you. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on becoming a Two Men and a Truck franchisee? Are there any websites they should go to, any numbers they should call that you want to give out?
Yes. Well, first, can I say thank you. It is an honor. An absolute honor to be on your 300th show and on your 6th year anniversary. It's just a blessing.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to hear more or learn more about Two Men and a Truck, they can just go to twomenandatruck or twomen.com, TWOMEN. And our 1-800 number is 1-800-345-1070. But if they go online, they will learn so much about us. And they can call me or email me, and I love to answer franchising questions as well. So,
and you can hear your passion in talking about the company too, and I guess that has a lot to do with you being there from the beginning too, but it's very refreshing to talk to someone like yourself, and someone who's just so passionate about this business. I can tell that you have fun every day at work, and you're probably going to do this a very long time.
Thanks, Marty. I do love franchising. It's kind of,
you can tell. You can hear it in your voice, which is again one of the great reasons we love having people like you on the show. It's fantastic. So I want to thank you again, Melanie. It's been wonderful to speak with you, and hopefully, we don't have to wait 6 years to have you on the show next time. I'd like to, give you all a call and maybe have some of your franchisees on the show next year, and just continue to watch you grow. It's a wonderful, amazing story in franchising, I think.
I would love to have our franchisees on. Yes, you too. Thank you, Marty.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Franchise Interviews For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years now we've been asking the frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and again, we'd like to thank Melanie Bergeron and Sheriff Two Men on a Truck for coming on our show today. Right now, you're going to get to hear a segment with our interview with Lonnie Helgerson, and Lonnie is a franchise author, franchise speaker, and serial frantrepreneur, and Lonnie was talking about his new book, 5 Pennies, and let's go right into the interview with Lonnie. We've been asking the frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews. And as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with franchise author, franchise speaker, and serial frantrepreneur, Lonnie Helgerson. And Lonnie has over 27 years' experience in the franchise industry, working with companies such as Super 8 Motels, Identikit, and many more. Hey, Lonnie, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Marty. I'm having an awesome day.
Oh, that's fantastic, Lonnie. It's great to finally have you on the show. I've been following your career for quite a long time now. So Don was a little jealous he couldn't be here today. I was telling him a story before the show, Lonnie. I promised my wife over the Memorial Day weekend that I wasn't going to do any work or read any journal articles for my doctorate degree. And I got your book, 5 Pennies. I think I got it on Friday, and I got to tell you, I couldn't put it down. It was a fantastic book. I think you really did a great job at filling a gap in a literature review. There's nothing out there that's like it. I was telling Don about the title. I said 5 pennies. He goes, "What's 5 pennies?" So you probably get that. It's a great story. I thought you could probably tell it a little better than I could.
Yeah, I do get that question quite often, and where the title came from. And as you know already, having read it, there's an interesting story behind that. I serve on the board of advisors at the Institute of Franchise Executives at Nova Southeastern University with Carolyn Bolton, and she's director of special projects for Subway restaurants. And Carolyn and I go back quite a ways, and we know each other very well, and our kids are very close in age, so we always drift off into a conversation about our children. A few years back already, her and I were talking about our kids, and I was telling her how I was trying to teach Chandler, my son, a number of years before this conversation, actually. He was probably about 5 or 6 at the time, and he's now 11, so this has been a while back. And he always hits me up for money, right? He wants some money for this or that, right?
Right.
And I said, okay, here's the deal, son. I said, you clean my office, and I'll pay you to do that. And he said, okay. So he came in, he lugged in the vacuum cleaner, and he vacuumed a little bit and got more garbage on the floor than he took out and this, that, and the other thing. And he came over and he said, okay, he wanted $2. I said, well, where's your invoice?
Right.
And it's like, he gives me that blank stare like, invoice, and he could hardly, say the word at the time. And I said, here's how you make money. I said, this is, I'm going to teach you a business lesson today. So I taught him how to create an invoice and wrote down $2. And I said, now you give me the invoice, and I gave him his $2, and I marked paid in full. I said, you keep that, and that's how you make money as a business. Mm-hmm. And she chuckled, and she said, her son was going through the same kind of gyrations. And at the time, she was working for Franchise Brands, which is a side business that's owned by the founders of Subway, mm-hmm. That looks for concepts to purchase. And at any rate, he was always hitting her up to buy this chain or that chain. He'd stop and have a bagel, and he'd say, Mom, you guys need to buy this franchise chain because it's such good food. And she's getting to a point where she finally decided to tell him how they evaluate a franchise when they purchase it, and it's a good story. And I think she says for every $1 that comes into that bagel shop, that would be 100 pennies, right? Yes. Right. Okay. So many pennies go to pay for your labor and your staff. So many pennies go to rent. So many pennies go to insurance, and she went through all of them. So many pennies go to buy food for resale. So at the bottom, there's got to be a good, strong amount of pennies for the owner to keep at the end of the day. That's called net profit. Right. And on top of that, there needs to be 5 pennies that typically, it's the royalty that goes for the franchisor. And she says we zero in on that profitability, those pennies that go to the franchisee for profitability when we're going to purchase a chain. And I said, that's it's interesting thought, Carolyn, because I don't think enough chains are focusing on those 5 pennies or those profits these days. And this is pre-recession, right? So we're on high-flying times, and everybody's growing to beat the band. And whenever you run into people through IFA, International Franchise Association conferences, et cetera, it's always, how are you doing? Oh, we opened up X amount of stores, or we've sold this many locations, and it's still that way. And it's not very often I hear somebody say, well, our same-store sales grew by 10%. Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference there. So that's where the term 5 pennies came from, because it's average royalty franchisors.
It's interesting. One of the stories that really hit home, Lonnie, was you were standing, I guess you were at the International Franchise Association. I think you were at the one in Las Vegas. And you hear a lot of great conversations, don't you, as you're standing in line? But I think you were listening to you're listening to a couple other franchisors, and they were talking about, I guess if they sold, I don't know, I guess it was it might have been like $20,000 franchise fee, and if they sold 10 of them, I guess they would have got $200,000. And it seemed like that was the focus for that particular franchise, wasn't it? It wasn't about profitability or anything like that. And you wonder, if those guys are actually still in business today. You can kind of hypothesize that whoever they were, they're probably not, are they?
No, I don't know if they are or not, but it was crazy because they sounded like 2 cat burglars. It was great, and it was really kind of irritating and annoying because I'm listening to this, and they're talking about this, and if you've been around in franchise in a while, you may have heard those kinds of conversations from time to time, and I wanted to turn around and say, guys, I said, is there anything more to this business than franchise fees? And by the way, what are your costs of supporting a franchisee, and so on and so on and so on. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I got helped, and they were gone. I never did see them again. But you're absolutely right. I wonder if they still are, if they learned from that convention the importance of what they're doing. And,
I don't think those guys knew who they – Well, it's funny because as I was reading Lonnie, I said, I don't think those guys knew who they were standing next to. They had all this experience in franchising, There was the great quote. I thought it was fantastic how you put it right on the cover of the book from Fred DeLuca, who is someone, I truly admire. Franchise profitability is the most important mission of the franchisor, and I think that's really hits home, doesn't it? I mean, it's so powerful. We have a great quotes in franchising, and I think we're going to somehow incorporate that in there to our great quotes, because I think it's very powerful. How about a general overview of the book? I mean, why was it written, Lonnie? I mean, was it because there was a gap? I mean, there's so many books out there on franchising. I was kind of wondering what was going to come out next, and I think it was one of the reasons I couldn't put it down was because I think you really did a great job at filling that gap that wasn't what was said, in all the other books.
Well, I've been having a lot of people tell me I should write a book for a long time over the years, and I got thinking about it, and I really never felt that who wants to read about my escapades and so forth, and I had consulted and worked with a number of companies in recent years and prior, right up to the recession and during the recession, and there's some interesting dynamics that change in franchising. Most companies really had to, if they didn't, they should have, focused on their unit economics, because at the end of the day, that's what got them through the recession. And it forced many of them to really look at their support, their balance sheets, and how they make money. And I had seen a number of companies that had done things that I felt weren't probably on the up and up. They had done them wrong, and they really were taking advantage of franchising in a way. And I felt compelled to write a book that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of books on starting a franchise, but nobody's ever said, here's how you grow one, here's how you manage it, and these are the tools and all the things that you need to do this. And I just sat down, and the first story I put down was Carolyn's story, and I just went from there. And I had these 10 rules that are 10 solid areas that of any brand that kind of formulate the basis for a franchise system. And you can see more about that in what I call a model of success, franchise mega brand, where in 5 pennies mega means great. Rather than just big. And, you build from franchisee profitability, and you layer all of these different types of supports and different rules and things on top of it that add all of this value add and best practices and all of these things to a franchisee, which should increase their operational efficiencies, profitability, and sales, et cetera, which come back in the form of royalties, which feed the entire ecosystem. And that's the basis for the book, and from there we just started filling in the voids.
Yeah, I love how you use the word mega, too. I'm glad that you brought that up, because particularly when you used it with the word relationship, describing franchising as mega relationship. I thought that was very powerful, because I think that really is a great lesson there. I was mentioning to you, I do a lot of research on franchising because I'm in the dissertation mode right now, and I see a lot of different definitions on franchising. I probably have about 50 I could recite back to you, but not a lot of them emphasize the word relationship, particularly mega relationships. So I thought that was very powerful. I think you did a very good job at hitting home by the end of the book, as far as, that's what franchising is, isn't it? It's a mega relationship.
Thank you for the compliment, and it's absolutely true, and it's probably one of the most overlooked pieces of the business model is the relationship side of it. And where most companies get into trouble, or I wouldn't say most, but some companies get in trouble, is they don't understand that side of the business, or why franchisees act and the way they do and respond the way they do. And it's really about coaching a relationship. And I explained it in the book. It's like governing your marriage through a contract, because that's what we do. We have this personal relationship with our owners that we try to maintain positively, but yet there's this agreement wrapped around it that says, if you're late on your royalties, there's a $35 fee, or there's this, there's that, and all of these rules that we have in place. And if you think about a marriage, I mean, much like I put in the book, could you imagine a mandatory 5-year remodel clause for your house? or a $35 TV interruption fee and so forth. And it's exactly the same. And so how do you balance that? How do you manage that relationship and not govern too hard on the system and be, designated as a bully or not caring, or if you get too lax and you don't have strong compliance programs in place, then the system runs amok and you run into trouble and you may or may not recover from it. So it's a very delicate balance.
Absolutely. You have some great examples, that we've even referenced on the show too, Lonnie. You were mentioning in the book about the program that's done by Service Brand International.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a fantastic program. You wonder sometimes why more franchise companies aren't, doing programs like that. Did you have any thoughts on that, or?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend more companies do that. I think. Again, the recession has forged, in some cases, companies to think entirely out of the box, which is where we should be thinking anyway. And if you really have a strong unit economics, and you put the right owners in place and all these things, that it only makes sense to financially participate with that franchisee to make them successful, because the long-term goal is the royalty stream, and that's where a franchisor makes their money at the end of the day. The fees should cover their investment into that owner to get them open until their royalties start reaching royalty break even and covering their monthly support costs, and then they start making money on the royalty from there. But I'm amazed that there aren't more brands that do that, and that's a testament to Service Brands International on how confident they are in their business models, not business model. And this is one brand, by the way. This is 3 or 4 brands.
Right.
And they have that confidence level in all of them, and it's amazing what they've done. And for that, they're a best of class brand and a mega brand.
Yeah, I like, when you wrote the book, there's a lot of things that I enjoyed about the book. One of the things most was the teasers that you put in the beginning of the book. I said if I ever wrote a book, I would use a similar style. You talk about a scenario, and then you say, I'm going to tell you what happened at the end of the chapter. And I think that's one of the reasons why I probably couldn't put the book down is I said, okay, what's going to happen? It was amazing how you were able to do that with franchising, But I thought that was fantastic. Who do you think should be reading this book then, Lonnie? Who's the book would you say targeted towards?
This book is targeted towards anyone in franchising. It's just
what I was thinking.
Management book.
Right.
One of the ways that this book would be used in an incredible way is alignment and training of staff. There's so many people you talk to that are at administrative level or that are supporting franchisees that really don't understand what in the world this whole machine is about. And if my recommendation, and I'm putting some training programs together around this, is to have everyone on your staff, if nothing else, use this as an orientation 101 book for people that are new to franchising, so that they can understand what this language we speak and so forth. But really, what is this company trying to accomplish, and what's the position of the franchisee? How do I fit in? What's my role within that? And that's a great place. Academia, certainly another place for students that are wanting to study franchising and get into it, entrepreneur classes and that type, as well as any company that's thinking about franchising or really wants to. If you read the book like you have, there's many principles in there that can be actually applied to any small business.
Oh, absolutely. I would totally agree with you. Yeah, and as I was reading it too, Lonnie, I was thinking as you were mentioning, it's kind of like creating a culture within the franchise, isn't it? That's one of the things that I got out of it which is I guess not always so easy to do. Of course, it comes down to strong leadership and things like that. But I think that was certainly one of the lessons there, was creating that culture. After reading a book like this, of having that mindset, which is really so important for long-term success. And again, the examples that you reference in the book, whether it's your Subways or your 7-Elevens, and these are companies that you've dealt with and worked with, and all these guys, so firsthand. you've been in franchising such a long time. One of the questions I've been dying to ask you is, what changes have you seen in franchising, Lonnie, since you got involved, so 27, 28 years ago to, kind of like where we're at today, positive or negative?
Yeah,
that's a deep question.
Yeah, it is a deep question, and we could schedule another radio show around that question. It's, to start with, I think I would use the word sophistication of franchisors is really the biggest change I've seen, and it's a reflection of the sophistication of the franchisee as well. And a lot of that has been born through availability of content and information and, the internet and all of that type of thing that's driven this. But I would say fundamentally those brands that recognize that they're in business with their franchise owners versus just franchising a concept to an owner are the ones that's been the biggest change that I've seen. And that was probably a lesson some of them learned unwillingly and through economic turmoil. But the sophistication of the business model, obviously the legal side of this and the compliance side of this with the state laws and regulations and all of that we really don't need any further, have created a complicated business model. And a sophisticated and a complicated business model, and that has fundamentally been the biggest change. And that's a lot of changes. Like I said, we could do a whole radio show about this. But overall, 5 pennies is probably the aggregate of those changes. A book like this, written 25 years ago, when I was at Super 8 Motels, we wouldn't even gotten it. What does it mean? And I think that's the sum of the moving parts as a snapshot today.
That's interesting. We recently had a Memorial Day show, Lonnie, and of course we spoke about veterans and franchising and veteran entrepreneurs, and you're the 2-time chairman of Vet Fran Committee. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, as far as how you feel about veterans getting into franchising, or what's been your experience with that?
Oh, of course. Well, my experience with that is, first of all, I am a veteran, and I have direct experience with it. A quick story goes back to my days at Super 8. I was in the U.S. Army. I went back to from active duty to the South Dakota National Guard to work on my commission as an officer. And I had, fortunately, a buddy of mine that was an ROTC with me was working for Super 8 in the aviation department and asked me if I was wanting to make some extra money. I said, absolutely. My goal at the time in my life was to get my commission, go back active duty, and retire as a colonel, or hopefully even the luck of grace of Patton, that maybe a general.
Right.
That was my life, and I was very good at it. And I went to work for Super 8. I grew up through the ranks and got to know people. And one day we came back from some trip, and Ron Rivet, one of the founders of the chain, was walking away from me, and they pushed the Learjet into the hangar. And I yelled at Ron. I had a camera in my hand, and for some reason, and took a picture of him as he turned around. And it was that moment in my life that I realized this was a guy that built a successful insurance practice and was a recovering banker, but now owned the largest economy chain in the world, lodging chain, at the time. And I thought, wow. And it was an instant epiphany where I said, I'm going to build a franchise brand. It wasn't start a business, it was build a franchise brand.
Right.
I had that picture hanging in my wall. And that was the day I decided to chase down that fork in the road. And I never did go back active duty in the military. I got out after 8 years, and I stayed in franchising ever since. I left Super 8 a few years later, started my own brand called Computer Doctor, and been at it ever since. But veterans overall has been a phenomenal success with Vet Fran. Absolutely phenomenal. The success continues to escalate even as we speak here, and it's because they are such a good fit for franchising. And franchising's a great fit for them. They come out of a place that They know what they're going to do when they get up. They know what they're going to wear. They know what the day comprises of. Franchising provides them, albeit maybe not quite that detail, but darn near that type of life. And so they easily gravitate into that. And they're good followers and good leaders, which make them great team builders. And, you know, they really thrive in franchising and it's success of that. So, you know, I've been fortunate to get involved with that program and have been a part of getting it to where it's at. And you know, I encourage companies, if they're listening to this call, that if they're not involved with VetFran or a member of the IFA, they need to be. And they need to get involved with it.
Yeah, they're missing the boat. I totally agree with you. When we had Sean Folk, as a veteran, he recently got into franchise. I think he's up to he owns 10 franchises now, Lonnie. But it's a great story. But he classified or he defined the military as a system, and of course franchising being as a system. So, after, listening to him as well, it sounds like a great match, and you wonder why, not all franchise, well, I guess they all can't be involved in it, but, not even more are involved in VetFran. You mentioned another one in the book that I thought was interesting as well. Was it I think it's PAFI. I can't remember if that's the acronym for it, but I thought that was interesting as well. Was it Professional Athletes Franchise Initiative, I think it was.
That's correct.
We've had them on the show too, and I thought, I never thought about that either. As I said, okay, when these gentlemen came on the show, I think one of the guys was Tioka Jackson, talking about how, when you play sports, you have to follow rules, don't you? That's kind of like franchising as well, isn't it?
It is. One of the most interesting aspects of the professional athletes world is, I've learned a great deal about this. They're very much like veterans or team builders or team players, right? And they work well within a system. But the interesting dynamic with these guys are that they are typically financially secure. And so there's really no need to talk about that. They're more focused on operations. They want to know how can they be supported and trained to become a business owner. That's where they want to focus on. So that was something I learned here last year at a breakout session at the IFA, and I was really well received. It was a full room, and I love the program. Island Time Treasures is our franchise brand, and we are certainly working with the PAFI and hope to help grow that program as well.
Yeah, that was an interesting franchise too, Island Time Treasures. We were looking that up on the internet several days ago, and I thought that's an interesting concept, and I think it's a great industry, of course, to be in. Did you want to talk a little bit about that concept?
Sure, I'd love to, of course. It's a very unique franchise. It's there's two models for it. It's a home-based or a retail cart / kiosk, and we're doing both. The mobile unit, what we provide are, it's hard to explain, and hopefully people can visualize this, but we create a much like the Build-A-Bear workshop where a customer can pick out a design of a project. And we make a form in a sandbox, which we have these big sandboxes we take around. And then the guest actually decorates it with seashells or sea glass or buttons, and we've got all kinds of different types of things that we use. And then we have a proprietary plaster, which we call island mud, that we pour into that form. And it gets hard, and it sets up in about 6 to 8 minutes. It's extremely fast. And then we remove that from the sand, which causes the sand to stick to the outside of it. We clean that off, and we put some glitter on there, and we put a clear coat on it, and it's ready to go to the customer. And the response to the program has just been overwhelming. We're actually putting retail carts, or we call it specialty retail, into resorts, high-end resorts down here in Florida. We're looking to expand into Disney World and Busch Gardens and cruise ships and all those types of things. And the mobile version of that is exactly that. They're able to go to events and festivals and fairs and so forth and provide this program and work it part-time. The retail carts are full-time, but the mobile unit is part-time, typically weekends. It's great for, stay-at-home moms or family wants to make extra money or student going through school. It's low cost, low investment, and it's isn't geared just towards children. Adults of all ages do it, but predominantly the kids are where it's at. So.
It sounds like a great concept, and it keeps you still. This is a little different too, I guess, from some of the other concepts, of course, that you've worked with over the last 27, 28 years is what I was thinking about as I was reviewing it. But it sounds to me like you're always going to be, I think, involved in franchising, Lonnie, aren't you?
Pretty much, yeah. I think that's a given. I think I don't see myself slowing down. I'm a relatively young guy yet, so I could probably, I've got a lot of unfilled buckets in my bucket list yet, so we've got a ways to go.
There you go. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on getting the book and all the different services that the Helgerson Franchise Group provides, Lonnie? Is there any websites they should go to or any numbers they can call?
Of course. To get the book, go to franchisemegabrand.com.
Okay, franchisemegabrand.com. Okay,
yep,
fantastic.
It'll take you right to the book site, which is part of the Helgerson Franchise Group. So that web address will get them to everything we do, and as well as they can order the book. And the book's going to be coming out. The book is already on Amazon and paperback.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, but the EPUB, Nook, iTunes, and Kindle are coming out in the next few weeks.
That's fantastic. And again, it's a privilege to finally have the chance to get to speak to you. I mentioned to you, I've been following you a long time, and I feel like I know you, So one of these days, we're going to get to catch up again at one of the franchise shows, and we're going to be talking about this book for a while too, Lonnie, so keep listening in.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Marty, and it was great being on the show.
Thank you so much, Lonnie. It was a privilege to talk to you, and we'll talk to you soon.
You bet.
And we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, experts and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years now we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Franchise Interviews is celebrating 6 years and 300 shows, and right now you're going to hear a clip with the Undercover Boss, Catherine Monson. And Catherine Monson is also the CEO of FASTSIGNS, and FASTSIGNS International is the worldwide franchisor for more than 530 FASTSIGN and graphic centers located in the U.S., Canada, UK, Brazil, Mexico, Caribbean, and Australia. And why don't we go right into our interview with Catherine?
Go to Franchise Leadership Institute and understand why we're one of only 25 world-class franchises. They can go to Entrepreneur Magazine, or they can call any of our franchise partners and get the information from them directly.
Wow, that's well said. My wife's favorite show is Undercover Boss, and she said she'd kill me if I didn't ask you about it. So she said, you have to ask her about it. I said, we usually don't talk about that stuff, but I have to ask you about it. I mean, what was that experience like? I've heard, that I guess was like May. Was it May it's going to run?
May 4th. May 4th.
What was that like for you?
Well, it was, first off, I was certainly surprised and really humbled that Studio Lambert and CBS sought me out. I thought that was very exciting. And, first there was some trepidation. When they said, would you like to do it, you think about, oh, my goodness, what if you make a mistake on camera? What if you embarrass the brand? But as we evaluated the opportunity, we really felt that it would be an outstanding exposure for the FASTSIGNS brand. And then, they said to me, do you have a disguise in mind? And I just happened that I did. So I said, I want to be a goth rocker chick.
I saw it on the internet. I saw some pictures.
And they said, fabulous, you're the first boss that actually had a disguise in mind. And so I got to be a goth rocker chick. And my executive producer said, you actually take on a different persona when you're wearing these clothes. You sit differently. You speak differently. You have a slang to you. But it was a great experience. I spend a lot of time visiting our franchisees. I really do. I'm in a lot of FASTSIGNS locations. It's just the way that I choose to run the company. I really want to be where the rubber meets the road. But I'm always with the franchisee, and they know ahead of time that I'm coming, and the center is in perfect, clean condition.
Right.
And here I'm going in under the guise of filming a pilot for a reality TV show called Second Chances, where somebody down and out on their luck gets the opportunity to earn a second chance. Well, I'm working with employees directly. They don't know who I am, and I'm getting to see a different side of the business. It was an absolutely great experience. It was, I will say, exhausting because, I equate it to giving a general session speech in front of 1,000 people. But typically you only do that for an hour, and then you get to rest. But this you had, 2 HD TV cameras on you, literally 8 to 10, sometimes 12 hours a day, multiple days in a row. So it was exhausting, but it was fun. And what I found was we have amazing employees who are really dedicated to doing a great job for our customers that really care about the brand. And you'll get to see me ruin some signs. So
that's fantastic. I teach for Capital University, and I have my students watch the show as well, and we talk about it in the seminar. So we're all going to be watching it. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to see it now that I've had the privilege to speak with you. It really changes things. So looking forward to that. So how has technology played a role with FASTSIGNS? I mean, there's a lot of changes over the last decade, that's for sure, in this type of business. So what kind of role has technology played?
Well, technology has really played a key role from the very beginning. It was a brand technology, the ability to computer design, cut letters out of vinyl that created this industry. If you think about it, prior to 1985, every sign you saw was hand-painted, whether it was a for-lease sign, whatever. And so this new technology drastically changed the industry. And we became very successful with what we'd call cut vinyl. And then several years later, a new printing technology water-soluble inkjet or aqueous printing came out, and we quickly adopted and adapted to that and got aqueous printers in all of our franchise locations very, very quickly ahead of the competition. And then the next technological change was solvent printing, which had better durability, particularly outside in the sunlight. You didn't have to laminate it because with aqueous printing being water-based, it would smear if it got wet if you didn't laminate it. And we, again, were the first in the sign and graphic space to get very quick penetration in all of our locations with solvent printing. The next technology that came out after that was UV curable printing, particularly on flatbed printers. And once again, we very quickly got adoption in our network. So one of the hallmarks of FASTSIGNS is we have great franchisees who are really interested in being on the cutting edge of new technology because that understands that gives them a competitive edge and a competitive differentiation. So right now, today, all of our franchise partners are capable of creating mobile websites that can use a 2D barcode, whether it's a QR code or something else that they can print on their customer signage, and not only just print the QR code on the signage or the graphics or the vehicle graphics, but also create and give to that customer a mobile website, because you never want to take a smartphone user to a non-mobile optimized website. Our franchise partners can sell digital signage systems and can create the content and manage the content for their customers. We've invested in the content management server and all the hardware here in Dallas, Texas, so our franchise partners don't have to have that expense that an independent sign shop would be. I mean, we are constantly looking at the technology. We visit with all of the key vendors. We sign non-disclosures at an executive level. We go visit their R&D facilities and see what kind of equipment is coming down the pike 3 and 5 years from now, so we can start teaching our franchise partners now to get ready for what's coming in the future. We think that all those technological changes work to our advantage because we implement them very quickly. We learn how to make money with them, and then we teach our franchise partners how to make money with them.
What were your franchise partners doing, like in their past life, Catherine, their experience, and what kind of characteristics do you look for in your franchise partners?
You know, I wish I could say that it was a very black and white formula and that everybody in their prior job was an X, but that's not true because we have teachers and police officers and sales managers and executives and engineers, all of which are very, very successful. But the most important characteristics is, one, that they're success-driven. They're not afraid to work hard. They understand to be successful, you have to work hard. They're really driven. So I think it would be that drive to succeed is number one. Secondly, we'd like them to have some kind of management experience because they're going to be managing people and they're going to be managing projects. And we'd like them to have great interpersonal skills because whether you're talking about motivating your employees or whether you're talking to customers, that ability to communicate and to develop rapport is very important. So number one, it's that drive to succeed, some management experience and good interpersonal skills. And from there, we will teach you how to run this business. We'll teach you all of the FASTSIGNS operating systems. And we have really two outreaches as far as growing our domestic locations. One is a traditional new store startup, and the other is conversions, getting appropriate independent sign shops to convert. And every time we have a conversion in class, even if they've been in the sign business 20 years, they go through our production training, and they say, oh, my gosh, I can't believe how I've been making signs the wrong way. Your way is more efficient. Your process is more effective. My gosh, I have less waste. It takes less time to make the signs. I mean, it really is that proven system that we can teach anyone to do.
That's fantastic. What is the training like for new franchisees? I suspect that they come to corporate headquarters, and they're there for maybe a week or so. How does that work?
Well, let's just, for sake of discussion, say that you, Marty, have just decided to own a FASTSIGNS and you have signed your franchise agreement. The very next day, we are going to get you a username and a login to our intranet and to our learning management system. So your training as a FASTSIGNS franchisee begins at the very beginning. We have over 400 training modules on our learning management system, and we're going to tell you the 25 that are most important for you to get through before you even start any of your in-center or in-corporate training. We want you to learn about the sign business, and we want to make sure you learn about selling signs. And so you go through those 25 online modules. Your first week of training is going to be in a FASTSIGNS location. We have about 50 franchisees around the country that have been certified to be in-center training locations. They follow all of our systems and procedures. They know what agenda to go over day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5 of that first week. And we really like that new franchise partner to get that in-center experience because they start to see how it all flows together. Then they come to Carrollton, Texas, or essentially Dallas, Texas, for 2 weeks of classroom training. And then they get back out in the field, and we usually have that classroom training just before their center is ready to open. We want all that training and education to be fresh in their minds. And then they go back out to their location, and then they get another week of on-site training with our business consultants. So it starts with online, and then we have the week in center, and then we have 2 weeks in our classroom followed by a week in center with their business consultants, and then ongoing training through our learning management system online with visits from the business consultant, with regional meetings. As an example, right now we're holding 23 regional training sessions around the country in 2012 where we get our franchise partners together. There was one in Boston last night. We had 32 people there. So we're very focused on the initial training and ongoing training.
That's fantastic. I think it's great that your new franchisees, they don't have to wait, and that the following day they can log into your intranet system and start learning right away. I suspect in the old days, that 20, 30 years ago, I guess it was a little different back then, where you couldn't do those things, I guess you'd have a manual mailed to you or something like that, or you'd have to wait till the actual training occurred at headquarters, so I think it's great that, use technology that way. What advice would you give to our listeners? We call them aspiring frantrepreneurs, Catherine. They kind of know that they want to buy a franchise, but, they probably most of them just don't know where to begin with all these different opportunities out there today. I think there's more than ever, and again, you've been doing this a long time, so I guess you see that. But what would you say to them?
Well, I think, first they need to make the decision that they really want to be their own boss, and I think that's introspection. But what's so great about being your own boss is you truly get to control your own destiny. You're no longer subject to the whims of the corporate entity that says, okay, to manage expenses, we're going to lay off 15% of our people. There's real control. And I, from growing up in a family business, I really understand that when you work hard and work smart and you follow a plan, you're going to be far more successful than if you work from the seat of your pants. So once they make that decision that they want to be a franchisee, I think then they have to kind of decide what appeals to them. Different people like different things. There are very introverted people who aren't comfortable talking with a lot of folks. Well, I don't think our business necessarily would be right for them, but there are lots of other that might be right. So part of it is what appeals to them and what do they like. Do they want to have I'm not putting down food at all. There are a lot of fabulous opportunities in food, but food does mean that you're going to be working. Your business is going to be open 7 days a week, very, very long hours, or if they're looking for more balance and quality in life, in which case they might look for a B2B franchise. And then I think most important is to look at third-party references. I think there's nothing more critical to long-term success of a franchise network than franchisee satisfaction. If you have unhappy franchisees, they're going to sue the franchisor. The franchisor is going to be burdened with legal bills, and maybe that whole franchisor goes defunct as a result. So I think happy franchisees, and franchisees are happy when, number one, they're making money, and number two, they're listened to, and number three, they're involved. And certainly at FASTSIGNS, we follow all three of those. I'm going to go down a different line here. If you are a prospective franchisee, you will get a franchise disclosure document. In the industry, we call it an FDD, but you'll get a franchise disclosure document. Every single franchisor has the ability to put an earnings claim, an item 19, in their disclosure document, but very few do. FASTSIGNS does. We put in an earnings claim, an item 19, all the way down to net profit. And we do that because we believe it's important for a potential franchise candidate to really know what is possible in this business. And so for 3 years in a row since I've been here, we put an item 19 all the way down to the profit line, and I think that would be another important thing. I would be concerned if I was a potential franchisee and what the franchisor put in was nothing or only sales volumes or started, hinting around the edges about what you could make, or would say, go talk to our franchisees. I think the specific reality of what really can be made is absolutely critical.
Wow, that's well said. What's the plans for the future? I mean, where do you see you guys 5 years down the road?
Well, I believe that we have a lot of growth opportunities at FASTSIGNS. We're at 530 some odd locations today. We're absolutely going to get to 1,000. We're going to grow in lots of other countries, and we're going to continue to focus on bringing new products and services to our franchisees. They can continue to grow their profitable sales volume. So we're going to grow average unit volume, continue to grow average unit volume, and we're going to continue to grow the number of locations, U.S. and abroad.
That's great. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information, Catherine, on becoming a franchisee? Any websites they can go to?
Well, certainly they could go to FASTSIGNS.com, and we have a franchise opportunity section. There are certainly a lot of franchise portals out there, but I think, pick the brands that you're interested in, go to their websites. All of their websites will have a section on franchise opportunities.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Catherine, for coming on the show. It's a privilege to finally get to speak with you. And, again, we're going to be watching you on TV pretty soon. So it's going to be great. And we'd love to have you guys come back in the future. I don't want to wait 5 years to have you guys come on the show. It was great to finally get to have you on the show.
Well, I enjoyed it very much, Marty, and let me know what you think after you see me on Undercover Boss.
You got it. I'll send you an email. Thank you so much, Catherine. You have a great day today.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews. So we want to thank everyone for listening and making this our most successful year of doing franchise interviews. We look forward to doing the show another 6 more years, and we have 4 more shows to do throughout 2012. So thanks, everyone. Have a happy holiday, and we'll see you again soon with more franchise interviews. Take care.
Me We have a lot going for us in Fall River, Massachusetts. Historic charm, great bird watching, and an Amazon warehouse. MJ works there. She got health care on her first day.
For me and my kids.
They're a big birding family. Jose is doing a free tech program. His career is about to take off in
software development.
Full and part-time employees are spotting opportunities like these all across the country. Good for employees, good for Fall River. Amazon, every day better.
Why do most companies' surprises never work out in your favor? Instead, they usually add hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to your bill. At Jack Lair Heating, Cooling, and Electric, our no surprise guarantee means if we miss something and don't tell you prior to our agreement, we'll correct it at no cost to you. For emergency service, system maintenance, or to schedule an estimate for a new HVAC system, visit jacklair.com. That's JackLEHR.com, an independent train dealer serving the Lehigh Valley area for 50 years.